they saw a missile.
There was definitely a blue logo. It was like a circular logo on the front of the plane. It definitely did not look like a commercial plane. I didn't see any windows on the side.
Mark, if what you say is true, those could be cargo planes. You said you didn't see any windows in the side?
I didn't see any windows on the side. It was not a normal flight that I've ever seen at an airport. It was a plane that had a blue logo on the front, and it did not look like it belonged in this area.
It's just sort of a herd mentality, a lemming-like mentality. If you don't go with the flow, you're anti-American, and therefore a suspect.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Unbelievable. Wow, that's like a goosebump. Unbelievable. Whoa. On the top of that 12-story building, there's stuff.
Hi, I'm Steve Barish, founder and president of Barish Architects and Associates, Inc. 3.5 years ago, I read some articles, I think it was the LA Times, and some other periodicals about some inconsistencies in the government analysis and summary of the Twin Tower collapse. And about 4 to 6 months later, I attended a lecture here in the city of San Luis Obispo, I think presented by Richard Gage and some associates, that went into more detail about some of those inconsistencies, and how the third tower, which was not hit by a jet aircraft, also collapsed almost at the same time. So it certainly raised some curiosity in me about these circumstances. Some of the inconsistencies that I found rather curious was the fact that the buildings came down rather fast. They came down in a rather symmetrical pattern. They came down from the top down without a asymmetrical form at all.
Better get out of the way!
Buildings tend to be delayed as they collapse. They don't just pancake down like this in a very short period of time. And it became obvious to me that with all the modern fireproofing techniques and life safety systems, which are checked constantly, the temperature, even with jet fuel, could not, in my mind, bring a building down this fast in this pattern. There would have to be some delays where some of the lower floors, which may have not been impacted by the crash, would support the collapsing upper floors for a period of time. And clearly a more asymmetrical pattern should have been present. Regarding the third tower, which was not hit by a jet, I just don't understand this one at all, because the temperatures that it would take to cause the third tower to collapse would have to be a lot higher than the yield strength of the steel and the fireproofing materials around the steel that encapsulate the steel. I'm sure that steel, both the beams and the columns, had at least a 2 to 3 hour fire encapsulation that would prevent the steel from being exposed to this kind of heat for a much longer time than actually happened. It also came down probably as fast as the Twin Towers, if not faster, in a much more symmetrical pattern. I don't understand it. Modern steel buildings do not behave in that manner, and clearly there's a 2 to 3 hour insulation around the structural frame that would preclude it from collapsing that quickly. There might have been smaller pockets of fire throughout the building, but there was no major reason why that building would come down in the way it did, and as quickly as it did. So
headed towards New York, and we need you guys to, we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not exercise, manifest. Do we want to think about scrambling aircraft? Oh, God, I don't know. That's a decision somebody's going to have to make probably in the next 10 minutes. You know, everybody just wants to run.
The first question I have is basically to get from you a sense of how you would rate the American media in their coverage of the events of the attack last September.
Well, let's see. Shamefully is a word that comes to mind.
This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
But if there's something wrong with you, you may be a terrorist.
So in that sense, Hunter S. Thompson, there's not enough room for dissenting voices?
Well, there's plenty of room. There's just not enough people are willing to take the risk. Like that happens. Well, who stands to benefit? You know, who had the opportunity and the motive? You just got to look at these basic things. I don't assume that I know the truth about what went on that day. And yeah, I just look around and looking for, well, who had the motive, who had the opportunity, who had the equipment, who had the will. I spent enough time on the inside of, well, the White House and the campaigns, and I've known enough for the people who do these things to know that the public version of the news, what an event, is never really what happened. And these people, I think, are willing to take that even further.
It seems a very long bow to me, but are you sort of suggesting that this worked in the favour of the Bush administration?
Oh, absolutely.